What's going on, guys? Britter back with more free code camps. Learn CSS Grid by Building a Magazine. We finished up to step 20 on the last episode, so we're going to start on 21. Within your aside element, create two image elements. I don't think you have to close image elements, but two image elements. So copy a block quote element and a third image element. Give the block quote element the class set to image quote. Okay. Within the image wrapper element, give your first image element a source of this image source, this, and then alt of image of the quote machine project, class of image 1, and a loading attribute set to lazy. A width set to 600 and height set to 400. Okay. Within your image wrapper, give the second image element a source of, that's the first image, the second image, source. Okay, so they did it like this. They did that, and then we go down, alt, image of a calculator project, loading, lazy, class, image 2, width 400, height 400. Okay. And now we're going to do the third image. So I think what I'm going to do is copy. Oh, let me post this first. And then I'm going to copy these here. And paste those there. We'll change this to for people working on code, lazy, class of image 3, a width of 600 and a height of 400. All right. Within your image quote element, nest an HR element. P element, and a second HR element. Give the P a class set to quote, and then this text. All right, so I haven't scrolled through this yet, but we got our calculator, we got the people working on code, this is what we just posted in, and that's the 3 images we added. All right, to start your CSS, normalize the CSS rules by targeting all elements with a star, including the before and after pseudo selectors. I don't know if I'm doing this right. I always get this wrong. Yeah, it needs a comma and a comma. And then we do a padding, margin. Both are set to 0. Box sizing, border, box. Okay. Create an HTML selector and give it a font size set to 62.5%. This will set the default font size for your web page to 10 pixels. The browser default is 16. That's kind of small. This will make it easier for you to work with REM units later, as 2 REM would be 20 pixels. Create a body selector. Set the font family to Baskerville with the fallback of serif, color to linen, background color to RGB 20, 30, 40. Okay. Create an H1 selector. Font family is set to Anton with the fallback of sans serif. Create an H2, H3, H4, H5, H6 selector. Font family set to Railway. The fallback of sans serif. Create an A selector. I'm going to give it text decoration set to none. Color set to linen. Now you're ready to start putting together the grid layout. CSS Grid offers a two-dimensional grid-based layout, allowing you to center items horizontally and vertically while still retaining control to do things like overlap elements. Begin by creating a main selector. Give it a display property set to grid. Now you can style the layout of your grid. CSS Grid is similar to Flexbox in that it has a special property for both the parent and child elements. In this case, your parent's element is the main element. Set the content to have a 3-column layout by adding a grid template columns property of 1FR 94 REM 1FR. Okay. That did some weird stuff there. And if you guys have watched my videos before, you know I've messed around with Flexbox, but not so much CSS Grid. So hopefully I'm going to learn something here. Alright, use the min-max function to make your columns responsible on any device. The min-max function takes 2 arguments, the first being the minimum value and the second being the maximum. These values could be a length percentage, FR, or even a keyword like max content. Wrap each of your already defined values of the grid template columns property in a min-max function, using each value as the second argument. The first argument should be have a grid template columns property set to min-max 2 REM 1 FR. So then do we do min max I don't know how this is supposed to look. I think usually I should have this. And then this. No. Min max. Min content. Let me delete this and delete this. Is this all supposed to be on one line? I don't think it is. Oh, maybe this is why. That was exactly why. Okay. To add space between rows in the grid layout, you can use the row gap property. Give the main selector a row gap. Okay, so all that should have just been on one line, I see. So row gap of 3 rem. Your magazine will have 3 primary sections. You already set the overall layout in the main rule, but you can adjust the placement in the child rules. One option is the grid column property, which is shorthand for grid column start and grid column end. The grid column property tells the grid item which grid line to start and end at. Create a dot heading rule and set the grid column to 2 divided by 3. This will tell the heading element to start at grid line 2 and end at grid line 3. Okay. Create a dot text selector and give it a grid column set to 2/3. All right, that moved everything down. For additional control over the layout of your content, you can have a CSS grid within a CSS grid. Set the display property of your heading to grid. Okay. All right, guys, we have completed up until step 38. I'm going to go ahead and end this episode here, but I do thank you for hanging out, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.